So I'm Jennifer Mason from SharePoint 911. I focus on governance, information worker planning, and everything you do with SharePoint out of the box.
Alright, so we're here with Jennifer Mason, and we were talking last night at the Springboard party about the social community of SharePoint, and how it is different than any other technology, and maybe even different than any product or lawyer group or insurance group that you could find. And we talked about some reasons for that, but let's go back and talk about that a little. Like, what are some of the things that you see that has made this a strong community?
So one of the things I was talking about last night was that, well, SharePoint, out of the box, it's everything to everyone. So you have so many different components. So you have development, you have information worker, you have IT pro, you've got database management, you've got all sorts of things. So BI, all of those special tools and stuff like that. And nobody can take SharePoint out of the box and master it themselves. But internal to any organization, you don't have the jacks of all trades that are experts in all of the areas. So from that, just with the nature of the product itself, you have to rely on others to supplement your knowledge base. And so working together, that's why I think the community is so strong, is almost because the product lends itself to it. You almost have to be. So you have to rely on others who are experts in areas that you can't be.
Yeah, and one of the other things we talked about was the fact that the documentation in previous versions, it's gotten a lot better in 2010. Kudos to people like yourselves who've written a lot of it. But the documentation really was lacking. And so you either had to figure it out on your own, which was sketchy at best, or focus in one area and learn it. And then from there, share that knowledge.
And now even with that, the documentation has gotten better, but now there's so much of it, so where do I go to get what? So you may rely on the community where they might not give you your answer, but they may say, here, you need to go check out this, you need to look at these tools, here's the documentation on this. So you can get, it's like a sounding board to get all the information you need.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about maybe 10 years ago with a technical issue, if you had something that you didn't understand, you hired a consultant, that they came in and did it for you. Then we moved into the area where, well, I'm going to get a book and learn it myself. And now a book, a great resource, but an old resource. And then it turned into, well, you know what? People are starting to write about this stuff, so I'm going to I'm going to go to the Bing or to the Google or to the Live Search or whatever it was at the time, and then I can kind of find it. But you know what I find I do more often than not when I have an issue is I'll just go to Twitter. I'll just email somebody directly, but more specifically Twitter, I'll say, claims-based authentication, having an issue in this scenario, help. And I'll get 5 responses in half an hour.
Almost immediately. And it's not always telling me how to do it, but it's pointing me to a resource or telling me how to do it or dealing with my issue or saying I've never seen that issue and it's not expected. So it really just, even if you're just level setting, like if you're having a moment, am I going crazy, why is this not working? You've got those people that you can immediately bounce it off of. Or if you don't know an expert in the area, somebody could say, hey, you should really go talk to so-and-so because this is their area of specialty and they've been working with this, and so you could ask them and get the information.
Yeah, there's the whole 6 or 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
The SharePoint thing doesn't even go to the 6th or 7th degree. I mean, even if you're new into SharePoint, you can ask that question out there and have a couple of good contacts, and if they don't know the answer, they know the person who knows the answer. You're 1 or 2 steps away from the authoritative answer. And a lot of times I make the joke, well, you know, they wrote the book on, you know, these guys really wrote the book on such and such, or whatever that issue is. So one of the main reasons then being that it's just too big. Not too big, wonderfully big. I don't want to make it sound bad.
No, it's not a bad thing, but if you think about it, the people who are experts in managing and maintaining data that's going to go into like a BI solution, they're probably not the same skill set of somebody who's going to understand the business and create forms. And if it was the same skill set, then the tool wouldn't be near as rich as it is. So it's going so deep into so many different areas, but that's what makes the tool so great. But then you have to depend on multiple resources and multiple skill sets.
But you know, one of the other degrees I've seen become very popular lately, and it totally makes sense in a SharePoint context, is library sciences. How do you classify your information? That's not a technical issue.
Oh my goodness,
But the science around how do you classify your information in your organization or your community, whatever that might be. And organize it. Now there's very real technical things in SharePoint to help facilitate that. But having that skill set is not a technical skill set, but you have to have that skill set for a large implementation.
And you also want to see what others are doing. So you've got the Twitters, the accounts on Twitter, you've got Facebook, you've got blogs, you've got different things like that, but then you've also got the local user community where people are getting together. So I might be, and local industries tend to be, close to each other, so it's similar industries in the same place, and you can go, what are you guys doing, and what's your taxonomy that you're using, and how are you guys classifying your data? So you've got that local aspect as too, where you get together, once a month, once a quarter, whatever the user groups are, and you've got that there. So there's multiple levels of community that each impact different things.
That's right. It's like a smaller microcosm of the larger thing. And usually there's 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 people in that group who have the connections to the larger connection, who have the connections, and at some point you're back up at the mothership.
Exactly. Always back there. So.
That's right. Anything else that you see that draws that community together?
Well, I think just the fun of it. I think everybody's so willing, so it's not my information that I'm not going to share. There's the give and take. So everybody who's really active in the community has that understanding of I'm giving and I'm taking, and it's a mutual agreement.
Right.
So I think that just really helps foster it.
Yeah. And so don't be afraid if you're new to SharePoint to be a taker, but be a thanker.
Yeah.
That always goes a long way. I mean, it's
and then everyone can give at every level. It doesn't matter where you're at. You can always provide back. You don't have to be experts in certain areas and stuff like that. Everybody has a perspective that's unique to their organization and what they're doing, and it's value to the community, even if you're not, an expert on a certain area or something like that. Everyone brings value to the community. That's right.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you're not the guy giving keynote at SharePoint conference or at one of those sessions. There's value everywhere. So just look for ways to share.
Definitely.
Because that's how it gets built. So Jennifer Mason, SharePoint 911, how can people find you?
So we've got my blog, so if you go to SharePoint911.com, you can find all of our team blogs, different things. There will be a link to it there. And then I'm at Twitter at Jennifer Mason. You can find me there. So
great.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.